Hey everybody, welcome to the PixelBlips podcast for November 24th, 2013. I'm Andy Ryan, that's Dave DeWart, my co-host. Dave, what have you been playing this last week?
Well, it's been, 2 weeks since we actually did our last shows?
Sure.
Just to ruin the illusion for everybody.
Yes.
But
what have you been playing in the interim?
I beat Assassin's Creed 4. I beat the story mode. I haven't played the multiplayer because I don't really care. It ends in a real, oh, I totally saw that ending coming fashion, because it still has to set up, it has to stay in the same continuity as Assassin's Creed 3 since you're playing as, Duder's great-grandfather or whatever. But it's fun, I kind of warmed up to the boat mechanics. I didn't like them initially. I thought, oh, this is going to suck. And then I played it, and I was like, all right, this is not so bad. And now that I've kind of got the hang of it, taking out forts is just awesome. And, doing the ships and stuff. There's, 4 legendary boats you can take. And I don't know if you get them after you take them.
Legend, wait for it, dairy boats.
Yeah, but they're super, super hard. I tried going up on one, and it's like, you should probably upgrade your boat some more before you try to take this on. And I was like, okay. So I just ran away. I shot it a couple times with my best stuff, and it's like, no. The little bar just moved a little. I was like, okay. So I ran away. So I've been doing that. I've been playing a little bit of Lego Marvel with the wife. She was caught up enough with her school stuff. She's like, let's play some Lego Marvel. I'm like, all right, sweet. We'll talk about that later. And then I've been playing Ni No Kuni. I'm past the second big tree boss thing, where you have to go through the forest and you find your third familiar, the little green guy. It's been a while since you played that game.
Is it the forest that looks like everything's autumn?
Yeah, and then you get you get the spell to rewind time or whatever, and you can use it on the tree, and then you use it on the fountain, and then yeah. So that was fun. The game, the combat mechanic where your minion can only be out for 30 seconds or a minute or whatever is kind of frustrating because you have to manage that as well as keep your dude alive because your minions all share your life pool. So that's kind of frustrating. And the fact that you have to move your, let's see, what is it? In order to move, you have to use the D stick, the left stick, and in order to change your options, you have to use the D-pad. So going like this while you're trying to run away and change your stuff at the same time, you kind of have to take your...
Well, see, and that's the problem is you have at that point in the game, there's a lot of the options, the gameplay is not yet open to you because it kind of does that progressive unlock stuff that JRPGs do.
Kind of like with 14 or 13 was, where it's just
pretty much, all JRPGs do that. Though,
they gate you on the mechanics a little bit, and I haven't gotten the second person yet.
It kind of artificially makes that hard. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's more difficult than it should be because of that. And I'm at the point where you're at the desert town and you have to find the little girl's the girl companion that you get at the very beginning or the beginning part of the game. You have to find her soulmate in the real world, and it's that starry Mary girl. Yeah.
Those are the best parts of the game.
And I'm just after the spot where you get rid of the nightmare on her dad.
Yeah, well, you'll get her, and that makes the game easier. I think from this point you go to the
magma area, I think, because I saw it on the map, and I'm like,
well, I think you go to the trials area before you go to the magma area, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. I haven't got that far. It's fun, and I like the story. I think it's really cute, and the
heartwarming.
Kid, yeah, whimsical. I think is what I've heard say about it before, and
so much whimsy.
And it's it's like this kid will do anything to save his mom. So it doesn't matter what kind of crap he has to go through, he will do it because he doesn't care about this other world. He cares about his mom. That's it. And that kid, go that kid. And I've been trying to beat Mercenaries on my Vita, the Killzone game on my Vita, and it's okay. I think maybe it's just you have to keep playing it, and I haven't played a lot of it. So
console shooter. You've always said you don't.
Well, yeah, and it's okay because the audio aiming is all right. You get close, it'll kind of zoom in a little bit.
Yeah. And you can turn that off.
Well, I don't care.
But I mean, for the people who are like, oh my god, auto aiming.
Well, it's not like I can be, the dude's here and my reticle's here and it goes like that. If you're hovering over him, it'll kind of, it'll move you that little fraction of an inch or whatever, and it's fun. I like it. I'm right after the one where you're working with the Hellgas guy. He rescues you because your partner betrayed you. So spoilers. And I think I killed the scientist.
Yeah.
Because
that actually has now that I've played Killzone 3, not Killzone 3,
Shadow Fall.
Shadow Fall, Killzone Shadow Fall.
The PS4 one. Sure.
That surprisingly has a sizable amount to do with what goes on in Shadow Fall. Like, I'm surprised. Now we'll get to it later when we talk about launch stuff, but anyway, so yeah, if you're going to go ahead and play Shadow Fall later in life, I do recommend picking up Mercenary.
If you have a Vita. Well, if you're in
just because the story in all of Killzone is pretty thin, and the way they've managed to layer them all together to make Shadow Fall's backstory pretty damn deep is interesting.
Huh, okay. Well, yeah, I've never had any interest in Killzone as a series. I just, for whatever reason, I felt like I wanted to play a shooter on my Vita.
I think Mercenary is probably the best jumping on point. Like, now that I've played all of them, even Liberation, which was the PSP top-down, it's a top-down tactical shooter. It's very interesting.
Smash TV, but with strategy.
Yeah, kind of. Not really Smash TV-ish, but...
Well, it's not as fast.
And you only have one stick, so you kind of have to, like...
even more.
Sit a spot, aim, anyway. But I'm amazed. If I had to pick one game and someone was like, I'm going to buy one Killzone game.
Buy the Vita one.
And I want to do it for the story, I would be like, the Vita one is the best because it does the best job of explaining what's going on at the time you're doing it.
Huh, okay.
And it has one of the more enjoyable stories.
Yeah. And I like the system, where the...
Killzone 3 is still the best story out of that whole thing.
I have no idea.
It had the most interesting villains.
I do like in Mercenary how the drop boxes are everywhere, like the blackjack dealer guy.
I like blackjack.
So you could just okay, I can't beat this without my rocket launcher, so you
People
buy
say my clients are mercenaries. I prefer to call them men of business.
Yeah. So I run with the shotgun and one of the assault rifles. Or I think it's the silenced one, so I can actually snipe without having to cause a lot of trouble. And counter-sniping snipers with an assault rifle is actually kind of pathetic.
What do you mean?
Because they're snipers. They should be better.
And
they're cloaked.
That's the worst part. And you're playing the single-player game.
Yeah, I am.
So,
yeah.
And probably not on hard.
No, I'm playing it on normal. But
the last time I played it, I was going through, because they have contracts where you'll get bonus money for doing certain stuff, and I was going through on hard. There's a hard, and then there's another one that unlocks after hard.
Really freaking hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was the snipers on hard were like, oh, you're sticking your head out, bam,
dead. Yeah, and they have the laser sights, but the cloaking thing looks kind of cool. I like what they do for that, and the backstabbing and all that stuff is kind of fun. Like not just the
dick stabbing.
Yeah. The melee kills are really, really good. And
that's
I
one
find
thing
myself,
Killzone has done really well.
I find myself
from the very beginning
in that game. I actually will, if I'm got a whole bunch of guys around me and I know where they are because you have your little mini map. I will just.
They get rid of that in Shadowfall. I did not realize how much I loved that mini map before they got rid of it.
Yeah,
and I was like, I don't know where I'm going.
I don't know where anything is. But I will just chain melee kill guys. I won't even use my gun in certain instances.
Yeah,
not when I'm trying to be sneaky, just because it's easier to one-hit kill them than whatever. And I still...
You can't do that. They fixed that in Shadowfall.
You can't just chain kill them.
If you're animating to single kill a guy, the other guys will shoot you.
Well, they still shoot you in Mercenaries too, because I've died during the middle of that animation before, or right after it ended. My screen just went gray and I fell over, and I was like, well done. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to the last couple of weeks. Really nothing super new, because I haven't been able to get a hold of a PS4 because they're sold out everywhere. So what have you been playing on your brand new system?
According to the guys at Sony, that there will not be supply problems going through Christmas, so you will
find
going
through Christmas, but with the launch
I think
in Europe this week,
Black
Friday's going to suck.
And I think your problem is you have to go...
I have to go to one retailer.
Not only to a specific retailer, you need to go to a brick and mortar store of a specific retailer.
Yeah, because you can't buy stuff.
Unless you can just go up to the checkout and be like, I want to pre-buy the next PS4 you get in.
Yeah, that'd be nice, but I don't think that works that way. I could ask.
Yeah, basically, I want to, even though it's already out, I want to pre-order the next one you get in.
I want to pre-purchase this. And next time you get one in, you're going to call me, and I will come grab it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I still think it's weird you can't use their gift cards or your trading credit on their online store.
See, that's just it. I think you can. I just haven't figured out how to do it. But
if that's the case, that is
right now I'm in a
worst.
I am in a position
ever.
where it doesn't matter because of some shit that's gone on in real life. Not financially, well, kind of financially, but anyway, that doesn't matter. So what have you been playing on your PS4?
So we'll actually start talking about this week's topic right now.
Okay.
Because me speaking specifically about things will not do us much
Yeah,
good. So both consoles have launched at this point.
Yeah, it's...
And I lost a no prize bet. I said that the Xbox was not going to sell 1 million units in 24 hours. I felt it would be more like 500,000 in that time period.
Maybe 750.
Yeah, maybe 750 in that time period. I just didn't think they were going to move as many as they did.
So Dave wins nothing.
Dave wins the no prize bet.
Andy loses nothing.
On the breakdown, it turns out I said only...
Had you said in North America?
And I said only in North America. I probably would have been closer to the truth.
Yeah. Well, and
those extra 11 territories, 11 countries.
Yeah, because it was 13 countries total, and if you lump Canada and the U.S. together,
and one of those was the UK, which is Xbox's holdout in Europe.
Yeah, but there was a lot of European countries and a lot of South American countries on there too, or South and Central American countries. So.
I'm just saying that having your three highest territories on that one launch day really helped them.
Yeah. Had Sony launched in Japan this week, or last week as well, they probably would have sold 1.5 to 2 million.
Yeah, and had they launched in Europe, them making that 3 million, they would have been sitting on, if they had launched worldwide.
They probably would have
If they had
sold,
launched how the PS3 had launched, how the PS2 had launched,
worldwide,
they would have been
one
sitting
day.
on 3 million in one day.
Probably, yeah. They might have staggered the launches just because they
probably couldn't get
they couldn't get that many units out in that time frame, and that's probably good on them, right? We're suffering in the U.S. because we don't have the restock that we should get 2 weeks later, but
because that restock
because all that
shuffled
is going
now
to Europe
and Eastern Asian countries.
Hong Kong. Oh,
Hong Kong, New Zealand, Australia. I think Australia. Pretty sure Australia. Okay. Basically, if you can think of an Asian country that's not Japan.
Do their PS4s work upside down?
Counterclockwise. And in Rand McNally, people wear boots on their heads.
Hey.
Anywho, so I think a lot of getting these huge numbers is a lot of your supply chain.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see that Microsoft sold 1 million units in 13 countries in a year.
And I'm sure if both corporations had 10 million units to sell a pop, one of them would have sold 10 million units.
Yeah, but maybe not in a day, but at least in that first 2 weeks.
Yeah, in that first 2 weeks.
So by next week we would be 2 weeks into the PS4.
Yeah.
And they probably would push 5 to 10 million units out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In one day, that's kind of like, I don't think that's possible. But,
iPhones.
Yeah, but you're talking
and
about
I think,
a smaller device and
but more expensive. Anyway, I think the one thing that both of these launches, console fanboyism or not, the one thing you can take from both these launches is all that scuttlebutt about the end of the consoles.
Not happening.
Clearly not happening. There is not only is there a audience out there for these devices, they are ravenous. They bought everyone they could.
All of them. Look on eBay. eBay. There's 5,000 PS4s on eBay right now.
Yes.
And the average price is $560.
Yep.
Or something like that. And I was looking on eBay and I was like, no, I'm not paying $600 for a PS4. Sorry, I will wait.
Buying stuff off eBay is your kid really wants it.
Yeah,
you need to have that kid bonus.
Yeah. You want to lock one down for Christmas 6 weeks early. And it's I believe it when they say we'll have more units in stores before Christmas, or
especially since
a couple of weeks before Christmas.
I've heard anecdotal reports in our area of, hey, there's a stack of them at Best Buy, there's a stack of them at Walmart, there's a stack of them at Target.
Yeah, and I've heard
a lot more anecdotal reports that there's more Xbox Ones hanging out than PS4s.
Well, they only sold 500,000 units, maybe we don't know. We figure they only sold about 500,000 units in the U.S.
I would say, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say they sold 750,000 units in the U.S.
In the U.S. So 250,000 Xbox Ones sitting around. If they allocated 1 million for just the U.S. and Canada,
I don't think they did. I think they allocated these are what we have ready to go, and we're just gonna let them go.
Well, I mean, whatever. Microsoft hit the mark that they were going for because they were going for $1 million in a day, like Sony did.
And I don't think Microsoft would have mentioned that mark had Sony not mentioned that mark.
I don't think we would know had one of them not said something.
Yeah, I think Sony saying, hey, this has been $1 million in a day. Well, actually, they said over $1 million in 24 hours.
Yeah, and you know,
thank you, United States and Canada. And of course, Microsoft then had to come back and say, hey, we also have over $1 million in 24 hours across our 13 territories.
Yep.
Which is, corporate dick waving.
Yeah. It's totally, hey, I did the same thing, or whatever. I could do mine too.
I think demand is still higher for the PS4.
Yeah, I mean, and that might just be who we've been exposed to. I know I still want a PS4. I want a PS4. I was given the option. I went to GameStop and they were like, "Hey, you want a PS4? You gotta wait. We got Xbox Ones though." It's like, no, I don't want that.
Don't want that.
I don't.
I've talked to a lot of people, both online and off in real life, that have said, "No, I'm getting a PlayStation when it's
available.
When it's my time to get a PlayStation, whether that's $100 less or whatever, or it's it's available and I see it in the store, or I have the money at the tax return, or whatever."
As far as looking at just not so much the availability issue, but what would drive me to get a PS4? I really want it because of the remote play. I can play games on my Vita.
Yeah. That works well, by the way.
Very well. Well, does it
30 frames a second? Very well.
Well, that's fine. That's totally acceptable for most games and whatever. I'm not worried about that.
The problem is Resogun. If you use the triggers, the bottom R2 L2, you got to use the tap on the back.
My fingers wind up.
So figuring out a way to correctly function, it makes it hard. But a game like Lego Marvel Superheroes,
where you don't really need anything but jump and hit and maybe.
And the triggers don't even do anything. That's built perfectly for remote play on the Vita.
Well, but I mean, you got to think there's a version of the Vita. There's a Vita version of that game, so they've already figured out how it works.
Different developers have scuffled I heard that the Assassin's Creed developers have special remote play configuration, all that stuff. Anyway, I'm here to tell you, remote play works well. I've remote played in my backyard. I've remote played in my bedroom, which
is above where your PS4 is.
Yeah, if there were a direct line of sight from my bed to my TV, it would be probably a 20-foot difference.
And now there's a bunch of crap in the way, and it still works. So that's
there's a bed, a floor, whatever's in between my floor and my ceilings. Probably tons of asbestos. How old my house is. A ceiling, an entertainment center, a TV, and then the system. The best one, however, is that it works outside on my patio. Which is there's an exterior wall,
three arcade cabinets, 2
interior walls, an entertainment center.
Yeah, there's all kinds of crap. So I'm glad to hear that
it doesn't work well in my kitchen. That's the only one it did not work well in.
It has to go through your refrigerator, your microwave, and your stove.
The core of my house, which is 4 interior walls, the stove, the refrigerator.
Sitting at your desk playing PS4 games isn't going to work.
And I've been told that if it doesn't connect directly to the PS4, if it'll connect through the internet Wi-Fi structure. If it did that, I've been told it will work better. But I haven't figured out. There's a way that you can set it to never connect directly to the PS4. But there's not a way that during that remote play
where it'll automatically switch.
Yeah, the remote play click. There's no way this time do you want to connect through the Wi-Fi structure of your house, the internet, or direct connect to the PS4. There's none of that. It's just this is how it's set up. We're going to do it.
We're going to do it like
and
this.
And if it can't find the Wi-Fi signal from the PS4, I'm told it will go through the internet. I don't know that for sure. I haven't played with it. I don't know how well it works.
Well,
but if you want it for remote play works well.
Yeah. So really, I mean, I'm looking at when you look at the 2 launch lineups, right?
That's the other thing I have to say. The launch lineups are weak across both platforms. There's blind spots in both platforms.
Yeah. Sony doesn't have a fighter. I mean, as much as you want to say Killer Instinct is not a fighter, it is a fighting game, and apparently it is better than most fighting games.
Combo crap.
Yeah.
I've never liked Killer Instinct.
I know you don't like Killer Instinct. And you know what?
You know that teaser they had for the European launch of Ryu's Hadouken cab service? I was like, dude, if they announce Ultra Street Fighter 4, PlayStation 4, day one, or it's launching with the system, I will crap my pants.
But they didn't. Obviously, it's probably coming. I'm sure. Evo will pick up on. By the time Evo rolls around, that game will be out for the PS4, or they'll just play it on the PS3s like they have been forever. So there are definite blind spots, and I feel like Sony has a lot of shooters
Yeah.
If you,
I think they both have a lot of shooters, and the fact that one of Sony's exclusives is a shooter.
and then they have 2 of them from third parties.
Yeah, it definitely makes it kind of a.
It's like I don't. If you love shooters, here's your PS4.
But the good news is when you aggregate both of the launch lineup review scores, they're both mediocre because it's a launch lineup.
It's a launch lineup. It's not.
Enjoy.
You're not going to have.
When you buy a system,
you're not going to get a Last of Us in your first month of a launch cycle.
When you buy a system this early, you are really buying the promise of cool shit to come.
Yeah. I mean, and you've got developers who've been making games for the old systems for almost a decade.
Yep.
So they're still kind of trying to shake out and see what they can do with these new hardware.
Yeah.
This new hardware.
Having said that, Killzone Shadow Fall is the best looking video game I've ever played. Even against Crysis on a high-end PC.
I was going to say, you don't play PC games, but...
Yeah, but I have played Crysis on a high-end PC.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
Whatever the new, what is it?
Crysis 3 was the last one that came out, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that on a high-end PC.
I'm sure there's a new Crytek engine coming.
And this, compared to that, like, I'm sure
you're comparing a game that is like 2 years old to something that just came out.
That's a brand new, and the art direction on Killzone goes a very long way.
You like Killzone. That's the long and the short of it. You like Killzone?
Did you? Okay,
you
were watching my streams. So you saw the flashlights? Mm-hmm. Like when the SWAT hell guys come up at you with their shotguns, they have flashlights on the bottom of their shotguns.
Yeah.
And when it goes across your vision, it does blind you.
It will blind you, yeah.
And it's not like a blindness, like, oh, your vision is degraded through the software or anything. It's blinded because of how the lighting effects work.
Yeah.
And a lot of the cool, you saw that the one where I'm floating through the space station, right?
Yeah, I saw that. It looks like you're playing Descent, and that doesn't seem like that plays very well at all. Like,
no,
it doesn't use 6-axis, does it?
No,
there's none of that.
And the floating parts are not the floating parts and the platforming parts are not the strongest part of that game.
Well, first-person platforming just doesn't tend to work.
And there are some of the most visually striking parts of that game, however.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that Killzone looks like crap. Right?
Floating up above, there's a part of that where you're floating back against the sky, the space station. It's floating into that sun, and it blinds you all around.
Because you're looking at a star. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't know.
Even with a gold visor, don't do that.
There's a cool part later on where you do an orbital drop, and that is like the best jaw-dropping part of that game.
Style?
No, not even like PlanetSide 2 style. Like you get in orbital sleds, you pierce the upper atmosphere.
Well, that's how PlanetSide does it. You fall from the sky straight to the ground.
Yeah, this isn't that. This is literally you pierce the upper atmosphere on the sled, slide out the back of the sled, and then you are dropping through the upper atmosphere of Helghan,
through the clouds and all.
Through the cloud cover with all these giant volumetric skyscraper-sized clouds, through the cloud cover, and then one of the coolest parts of the game, I kept dying in it a lot, and I wish I hadn't. Really wish I could had just.
I wish we could save our streams so that we could watch you die over and over and over.
Sony has said it's in the
works.
It's in the works. We're gonna let you do that, but
eventually.
Eventually. That's once again you're buying promise when you buy these launch machines. Because Helghan at the end of Killzone 3 is busted up.
Yeah.
There's these giant tectonic plates that are continually crashing into each other that have buildings on top of them.
That sucks.
So as they and your job is to skydive through these tectonic plates
to get below.
Yeah, so you are literally like skydiving through collapsing buildings. There's a shot where like a building falls into view. You can go over it, under it, or you can go through it. And as I went through it, there's shit you can see inside the building, like toppled desks, pop out the other side, and you're kind of on your wingsuit.
That's cool. I mean, it sounds.
That's one thing. The Killzone people, Guerrilla Games, love that fucking wingsuit.
Yeah. Hey, wingsuits, man. Wasn't there one? Isn't there a wingsuit section in?
There's two in Mercs.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I think
that's why I say like Guerrilla Games really love that wingsuit.
I mean, it's a cool feature.
Yeah.
Like it's a cool thing.
And it looks really awesome when you're doing it. Like I was sitting on my couch like.
Yeah. And
I died.
The promise of cool stuff, right? Like the game streaming. That is freaking awesome, right?
Seriously, okay, so here's the thing. So first week on the PS3, God.
Wrong generation.
So first week on the PS4, I go on. I'm like, I want to do this game streaming thing. It was right after the network had been up and down.
Yeah. Right after it stabilized a little bit, you could actually do something.
Yeah. And I just get on there. I'm like, hey, watch my stream. And then I text Dave. I was like, hey, I'm going to stream Killzone. And he's like, well, I'll see what I can do. I'm in a Jiffy Lube.
I'm sitting getting my oil changed.
Getting my oil changed. And lo and behold, he can like bring it up on the Jiffy Lube. And I'm sitting there like immediately I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest effing thing ever.
It is. That is amazing.
Like
And then,
I started playing video games with a controller that was a black box with one orange button and a joystick that barely registered shit unless you did this.
Yeah.
And,
those old school tires. Like,
and like
we've come a
blocks
long way
that were
in
like
30-something years.
Like I think of combat, like these two rectangles, a square and a line, are supposed to be a tank.
Hey.
And now I'm sitting here like, that is clearly a dude, and when I shoot him, he dies like a dude would die, and like, that is the sun piercing these clouds, and you can see this giant wall, like all this looks super realistic, and I am streaming this while talking to my friend on his cell phone who is in a Jiffy Lube, and he can see this whole thing and comment on it.
Yep.
I was just like...
It was pretty cool, and you know it's kind of funny that there are some people who have done some pretty interesting things. Like there was
that talk show. Was
yeah,
cool.
the people who did like a talk show through the Playroom.
Yeah, but that might also now get taken away from us.
Well, yeah. There was
the next night there was a dude
there was
doing
some
some pretty
guy,
pervy things on it.
Yeah. There's but you know what? There's always dumb people doing dumb
Yeah,
shit.
if you give
with
the
new
internet a
tech.
camera, you're going to see butts and dicks.
and yeah, all kinds of other stuff. So it's pretty cool that they did that, and you know, what some games journals called up and said this is really cool.
Yeah.
And they were really hoping that like you know Josip would call in and be like, hey, this is freaking awesome.
Adam Boyd's called it.
Yeah, it was Adam Boyd's. I couldn't remember his name. So yeah, I mean, it's really cool what you can do with the PS4 right now, and I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to let us do in 6 months. You know, once they figure out all the legal crap.
Saving it to Facebook is really cool. Like, I just watched a cutscene from Lego Marble, and I was like, that's hilarious. I want to share it with my friends. Share. Cut.
Oh, that was the
send.
MODOK one you shared, right?
Yeah, I shared MODOK, and then I shared, my favorite one was Reed Richards, Hulk, and Wolverine against the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so crazy and stupid.
Oh, because she... Wow, okay, never mind.
And Reed Richards was like, Hulk, be careful, she's a natural treasure, and her hat, it's really pointy.
Yeah.
Just that Lego humor. But.
Yeah, it is. It's really silly. I love Lego games.
So both launches brought both networks to their knees.
Oh, yeah.
Both launches have had their technical issue, whether it be the HDMI fault
on the PS4 or systems just being giant bricks, or the Xbox not reading discs. Or
Xbox reading discs sounds really bad. And it was one of those things like, if you don't, like when what do they call it? Some comic called up the flashing blue light was like the flashing blue dick punch of death.
Yeah.
They were like, finally, they have a red ring of death. Like, if you think that isn't going to happen
on a launch
when
week.
your platform launches, you are being highly naive.
Well, and Sony straight up said, you know, we expect a failure rate of around 0.4%.
0.4%.
Now with all the other stuff, they're saying it's around 1%.
Yeah, less than 1%.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the point. Is like. The people, the contrary to that argument is the people that go, oh, I never buy stuff at launch. You're early adopting suckers. It's always the most broken.
Thanks for beta testing my hardware.
Yeah, thanks for beta testing my hardware, guys. Like, here's the thing. The failure rate of the hardware is the failure rate of the hardware, and that remains pretty constant throughout the life of a machine.
Yeah.
And the only reason you think that the early shit fails more often
is because that's when all of them get released into the wild.
That's because
the vocal minority goes, hey, my stuff's broken. These are crap.
That's because the day one is when you are going to sell the most units in the shortest amount of time.
Yep.
And then, so obviously if you sell more units that day, there's going to be more problems out in the wild because of the failure rate. Also, that is when media attention is usually the highest.
Yeah.
So they're going to be like, oh, this person's emailing me about this thing.
Yeah.
And Kotaku even said it was funny because
they got like 150 emails about the Xbox since Friday.
Yeah, they had to actually run a retraction because people were getting pissed at them because they weren't saying anything about these Xboxes eating discs. Because they were like, well, we don't know. We can't substantiate. Like, the only reason we did the PlayStation one is because we could substantiate
because
that
we had one or two of our units didn't work on, when we got them.
And now when the IGN people came up and started, one of them broke at IGN, they were like, okay, this is actually a problem. Email us. And they just got inundated with emails.
Here's a shitload of emails saying, hey, my Xbox is broken.
Which, you don't know if that's because from shipping. I know when I got my box from Amazon.com, there was a giant-ass box. Half of it was full of those little pouchy air pouches.
The little packing bubbles.
And like Courtney said when she came home, first off, the box was supposed to be left behind the house. It wasn't. It was on our doorstep. And she said it looked like someone had kicked it in. And she was like, I was so pissed, but then I opened it and like everything was okay inside.
The white and blue box was fine. It was just packing bubbles everywhere.
Packing bubbles had broken, and so
Did your cat have fun with the packing bubbles in the box?
she did. She hung out in the box quite a bit, and I have a cool picture I'll show you of her like
Cats and boxes.
in the shipping box, staring at the open PS4 box like she wants to get in it. Like,
It's like, wait a minute.
do I want that one? No, I want this one.
This
Do I
one's
want
that one looks more snug. Cats and boxes, man.
Anyway, so of course there are going to be shipping problems, and I'm sure maybe the disc problem is endemic. Maybe it's just from shipping. Maybe it's those units got bumped and there's a gear off, which would make that click 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 click
Yeah,
click
it would
sound.
make a really bad sound.
And if the laser can't get in position, it won't read the damn disc, and there's your problem.
And maybe they just
Sony has said a lot of the errors that they're getting on the ones that they're refurbishing is because the HDMI port got bumped and it's now off center.
Yeah.
So when you plug the HDMI cord in it, it's not fully flush.
Well, and with that specifically, I've heard like part of it
It'll break the cord sometimes.
Yeah, the pins that are on your HDMI cord don't line up right, and so one of them gets bent up or out or something weird.
And it's like so you're not there. The first run of these aren't going to have necessarily
it's not
more problems than the other ones.
We're not seeing the 20 to 30% failure rate that we saw with the Xbox 360 on launch.
Yeah, that the rumor is high as 50.
Yeah.
But once again, the Red Ring of Death was weeks after launch, and as people used their systems.
An intermittent thing. It would just happen randomly. It was like it was like Russian roulette with your 360.
Yeah. So like, I had one person comment on one of my wife's posts that they were like, "Oh, I never buy it for like until at least the first 3 months, because then they've worked all the bugs out." Like, no, if you buy it 3 months later, you're still buying a unit that was manufactured before the launch of the system.
Probably, yeah.
The only way to ensure that the unit you're buying is
you wait a year and a half. Probably.
Year and a half, like to go out at a Target and buy one. Because both Sony and Microsoft are still sitting on giant warehouses of these things, just trying to figure out where they need to push these things to.
Yeah. Well,
and at what time.
Sony's pushing them to Europe right now.
Yeah.
They probably don't even have big boats. They're probably on airplanes.
They're on airplanes.
Yeah. 'Cause a truck would take too long and a boat would take too long. So.
Yeah. So, I'm sure you'll find if Andrew House, Jack Tretton, and Shuei Yoshida say you will not have a problem finding a PS4 by Christmas, that means you will not have a problem finding a PS4 by Christmas. Because one of them might make that claim. Having all three of them make that claim means they know that they have the supply ready to go. They just need to figure out where it needs to be.
Yep. And that's good to know. Like I like that feeling of, okay, I'm not going to get it before December probably.
Yeah.
But I should be able to get one before Christmas if I really want to.
Yeah.
I would really love to see if maybe I could get one on a Black Friday sale, but I don't think that's going to happen now.
Yeah. And in terms of launch lineups, like Rise is getting low numbers. Knack is getting low numbers.
Yeah, Knack I was kind of disappointed, like just to read the review. And
I still haven't played it. I told you, I was like, man, if the minute I play Lego Marvel superheroes,
I'm never gonna put that down. I played the demo. Like there was a demo unit at a Best Buy, and I played that for like 10 minutes. My wife played it too, and I'm like, what'd you think?
Everyone online says it's fun. It has a high reader score, not a high critic score.
Well, yeah, because it is everything I've read about.
Everything's gonna be rosy through the launch glasses, though. So don't necessarily take reader scores as Bible.
I mean,
versus
these
critic
guys
scores.
do all these games, and maybe they're being jaded and sarcastic or whatever. Who knows? But everything I've read is it feels like a PS2 era platformer, and that's both good and bad.
Yeah.
Like it's simplistic, but it's fun, whatever.
They had a niche to fill.
And that's Knack. Yeah.
It fills a blind spot in their launch lineup that Microsoft has in its launch lineup, in the fact that they don't have a character-driven platformer for all ages.
Yeah, they do not have that. I mean,
whereas they're missing a fighting game. That's what they went with.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
Like I've heard great things about Killer Instinct. I've also heard very crappy things. I've heard like it runs well, but there's no content.
Well, yeah,
that
because
seems to be the overarching it runs well, but everything is behind
Killer
the paywall.
Instinct is also essentially a free-to-play game. So you can pay the $20 and get all your characters and all that stuff coming, or you can play with just Jago and Saberwolf, or whoever it is they give you this week.
So I mean, like launch lineups are launch lineups, and don't expect the sun, the earth, and the stars.
Yeah, it's not like we're going to get God of War 4 on launch. And
there's going to be that one game that is a graphical powerhouse that everybody needs to say, this is why I plunked down $400 or $500.
And
it seems like Rise and Killzone are those games.
Yeah, Rise is very, very visually impressive.
Yeah.
For what whatever resolution it runs at, because I really don't care about that. I mean, yeah, you could say, oh, Call of Duty runs at 720 on the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Who cares? You're not going to get that out of a third party, though. You're not going to get that
Yeah.
visual powerhouse monster game
Yeah, no.
out of your third parties because they have to make the game run on both, and they can't do
Yep.
things that doesn't. And then additionally with the third parties, they're trying to put them on older systems as well, so they have to like strip them down to where they run on the PS4, 3, and the Xbox 360. So.
Like Killzone 1080p 60 frames a second also looks like J.J. Abrams went crazy with the lens flare. Like there's a time where you're getting interrogated and the dude's
eyes,
blue blocker eyes have a lens flare off them, and I was like, at that point you really need to kind of back off.
Yeah, that's too much.
But it's the other thing, like there's really good rain effects in Killzone, but also I noticed like if you were at a spot where you can walk inside or outside, it takes the environmental effect a while to catch up with you if you're inside. So you will be inside for a little bit and it's still raining.
Oh yeah, I've noticed that on other games too. Though,
Yeah.
like,
So it's kind of like, okay, we chalked that one up to a launch game. Like this is a launch title. Like because
Yeah.
there's going to be things.
But I mean, you
the
see
next
that-
Killzone Shadow Fall won't have that. It'll be even better.
yeah. Well, you would hope.
Like that's why when it looks at, we've always been over the fact that I was going to get a PlayStation no matter what, but having that Killzone Shadow Fall, that promise that this is where games are going on the Sony platform, it looks amazing. I would compare it to Rise favorably every second of the day. I would compare it favorably to Forza every second of the day in terms of graphical quality and how cool it looks.
Yeah. And specifically on Forza, like the Drivatar or whatever the hell they call that thing. That sounds like a really, really neat idea.
Yeah.
Like, you
And I think
send your
that's the thing.
ghosts
I
out
think-
on the internet and nobody really has
I
to
think
know.
what we talked about before is that both Sony and Microsoft are plowing new paths for gaming.
Yeah.
And unlike the last generation and unlike the PS2 Xbox generation, these paths are now no longer the same.
Yeah, no, they're different.
Sony is saying it is over here, it is gamer focused, it is
all about
streaming, sharing, super graphics.
bringing your game experiences to others.
Yeah, Sony did a really cool thing with this Twitch thing, saying basically we are going to make you guys even evangelists for the PlayStation platform. That you were going to be able to show all these cool people. Like I've showed people at work Resogun, and they're like, "I want to play that. That looks amazingly cool."
Yeah, it looks cool. I want to play that game, and I'm glad that they've got that app set up so you can like buy all your PS4 games that are free. Because I've already got like Contrast and Resogun, and I'm thinking about doing the upgrade on AC4 just so I have it when I get my system.
Microsoft, however, said the other way is family, living room focused. It's not just the gamers anymore. We're getting people watching TV. We're getting people watching this. They've turned people into evangelists by saying, this has been tweeted from my Xbox 360.
Yeah.
I mean, Xbox One, sorry. This has been Facebook from my Xbox One. I'm on my Xbox One right now, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, well, I can watch this football game and play Madden at the same time, and I can talk with my buddy.
And I'm going to
while
use
on
this
Skype
NFL thing. And so they're going out for a broader audience. I don't think that's the way to go.
Well,
I think the other way is the way to go, but we don't know at this point.
Yeah.
And the good thing is, since they both sold over 2 million units,
1 million units each, yep.
over 1 million units each. I said since they both sold 2 million units, I meant total. Even though I'm sure Sony has probably hit that 2 million mark by now. That both of these things are both in demand.
Yeah, very much so.
Of course, 6 months out when we have the drought, the middle of the summer, let's see who. That's when you'll know who's going to be the platform going forward. If in 6 months out, PS4s are still selling like hotcakes while the Xbox One has cooled down considerably, that'll tell you a lot more than both of them selling like hotcakes now.
Yeah, well, and you also got to think, even though we may have sold X number of millions of units, there are some of those that are sitting on eBay. There are some of those
or
that
under the
are,
tree,
Yeah, they're sitting under the
mom
Christmas
and dad's
tree.
bed, stuff like that.
Yeah, they're not actually hooked up and set up yet. So we really need to see, after the holidays, and like you said, 4 or 5 months from now, for sure, what the launch.
I would say
what those
6 months
lineups
from
like.
now in June when the drought hits.
Yeah.
Right after there will be a bump right after E3, but when the drought hits in June, let's see where these systems, how they're selling.
Yeah.
Remember, the Wii U was the fastest selling console with 400,000 units in a week. Had sold more than the Wii sold in that first week. And they were like shouting that from the rooftops. Well, now
Microsoft and Sony have over doubled that in a day.
Yeah, and the Wii U is sitting collecting dust.
Yeah. In retail and probably in people's homes.
Well, I mean, that Mario game looks really cool. So
Yeah,
anyway,
the Mario game looks awesome.
don't forget to spay and neuter your Pokemon. We hope everyone's enjoying the new systems. We will be back next week to discuss Lego Marvel Superheroes and how awesome sauce it is.
It is.
Have a good week.